Alrighty, so today we are going to finish up the review of match week number 37, looking at these last 5 games that is, or scratch that, looking at these last 7 games, where 6 of them is going to happen on Saturday, and one of them, of course, happen on Sunday. But with that being said, let us begin by talking about the first game, which is Minnesota versus Colorado. And this was really a tale of two halves for the Loons. I mean, in the first half, it was a total abomination by Minnesota. It felt like they were still playing against Chicago with the way that they were very poor in the first half against the Rapids. But then the second half, they got much better. And I think a big part of it is because the substitution by Eric Ramsey really helped it inject some life on this attack. Though, that being said, they did kind of have to hold on a little bit late in this one because, again, this is Minnesota we're talking about. Road heave mode is definitely still a thing with this team, and especially the fatigue from the altitude definitely got to this team late. Now, in the first half, Longwane with the game's first shot, but he hits it wide before the first shot for the Rapids. C. Harris hits it wide from close. Not much really happened, at least the start of this game. The shots were only one apiece 25 minutes in. Dane Sinclair then denied Bassett on the free kick, and then Ronan would flash it wide from the long range in the 34th minute, as the Rapids was definitely starting to dominate the possession and the Loons. We've seen this before, where even though when they try to sit back, they cannot spring any counterattack whatsoever. They're just getting pinned in their own half. Aronson would then hits it right to Dane Sinclair before Navarro would hits it right to Dane Sinclair in the 42nd minute. The Loons need halftime badly because this was all Rapids up to this point. They were knocking on the door to get the opening goal, and I was really hoping that Minnesota can regroup themselves heading to halftime scoreless. That didn't happen because in the first minute of stoppage time, Rafael Santos would score his first career MLS goal. It was a wonderful free kick goal that he scored there, and just like that, the Rapids take a 1-0 lead heading into the second half. Just an absolute backbreaker for the Loons. Very close to head to halftime with no damage, but now they head to the second half playing from behind, which is something that they don't really do well this season. Now, in the second half, Lud would had a shot that was deflected and goes wide before Fitz hits it right to Stefan in the 57th minute. A little bit better from the Loons. And again, big part of that is because the subs at halftime definitely inject more life into this attack. Longwane would then hits it right to Stefan in the 60th minute. I think it's safe to say that we need to stop the Longwane number nine experiment. It has not worked in these last two game. I think from now on you probably will see Mamadou Dian being the main number 9 for this Loons team. Navarro would then hits it right to Dane Sinclair in the 62nd minute, but then in the 65th minute, Minnesota ties it as Tratnis would score here to make it 1-1. And for Tratnis, it seems like he's stealing the Hassani Dotson mentality of bangers only. By the way, speaking of Hassani Dotson, he did came back in this game. Great to see Hassani back in a Loons jersey, and we thought that this was not going to happen. Like with the way that at the beginning of the season when he was put in the season ending IR. We thought that that was the last time we see Hassani in a Loons jersey, but he has made a miraculous comeback to get himself back into this team. And who knows? Maybe with him playing a little bit better during these last couple of games, maybe he deserve a contract extension. Though again, that is still really up for the table, especially the fact that in that defensive midfield, I think it's safe to say that we have finally found a number 6 and finally found the true number 6 that Loons fans has been crying for a long time with Nectar Tratnes. I mean, if he continue the rate that he is, I think that he's probably the best number 6 that Minnesota has had since Ozzy Alonso retired from this team. Now in the 68th minute, Diaz would heads it wide from the corner before Harris heads it wide from close range. I thought the game started to be a little up for grabs. Both of the teams were pushing for the second goal. The post would deny Pereira in the back post before Dane Sinclair denied Aronson in the near post. Kutivietro then puts it wide from close in the 87th minute. As I mentioned before, the altitude fatigueness has started to get to the Loons. I've seen this happen with Minnesota, especially when they with the way that they play and the style that they play require a lot of energy with them defending a lot. You just kind of had a sense that they were starting to run out of gas late, and this is where I started getting really nervous because is this gonna happen again where they had a chance to get a big point, but they gave up a late goal, which I've seen that happen before when they play against Colorado on the road. Longwani would then miss wide from close in the first minute of start time. That was a massive chance for Bonky, and one that you got to say he's got to do much better. And again, he hasn't been really been in the best of form lately, at least on the attacking end. So I guess maybe that's kind of the reason why he missed that. But that being said, in the third minute of stoppage time, Bassett would then hits it right to Dane Sinclair. There was a bit of a controversy because Colorado feel like there should have been a handball in the box. Now I didn't really get a good look to see whether or not if there was a handball. But the full time whistle was blown, or at least that's what we thought. There was kind of a confusion that are we going to go to VAR, or is the full time whistle being sounded, or is there going to go to VAR after the full time whistle is blown? There was just so much confusion. Fortunately, in a Minnesota perspective, the full time whistle did blown. The play by play announcer even mentioned the check was complete, so no penalty for the Rapids. Even though, again, I didn't really get a good look at it. From what I heard from some fans, they said that that probably should have been a handball. So yeah, Minnesota probably got away with one there late in this game, but nevertheless, they get a hard-earned 1-1 draw in this one. The shots in this one, 16 shots for the 12 that Minnesota has, 3 shots on goal for the 8 that the Rapids had, 6 shots off target for the 4 that Minnesota has, 4 shots on block for the 2 that the Rapids had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And while I know it's not a win, and this is a team that desperately need a win because they haven't really been playing relatively well, and the injuries obviously doesn't help the cause. To go on the road to play against Colorado, a team that they usually never do well when they play on the road and get a harder and point like that, and the fact that after what we saw in the first half, which was an absolute atrocious from this team, yeah, I'll definitely take the point in this one. But for the Rapids, you can't say that about the of them getting the point. They would definitely feel like this was 2 point drop. And again, they're not really that safe when it comes to the playoff race. I mean, everybody talk about the Western Conference playoff race. Maybe the ninth spot is up for grabs. I argue the eighth spot is still up for grabs as well, because the Rapids, they haven't really got themselves distance from the red line, and if they continue this inconsistent form and also kind of heading the wrong direction as well, as we've seen in the last couple of games, Chris Armour's team hasn't really got the result that they needed. Don't be surprised if Colorado might play themselves out of the playoff position, and that would be super disappointing in a Rapids perspective, because they were in this spot for pretty much the entire season, only to kind of fall apart at the worst possible time late in the season. Speaking of a team that is looking to try to climb up the standings and get one of those playoff spots, RSL is definitely the team to do so. And you had a sense that this was a must-win game for RSL, knowing that Austin was playing pretty much a B team in this one, and rightfully so, because it feels like Nico Estevez is really prioritizing the U.S. Open Cup final. RSL had to win this one, and especially this one being at home, they need the 3 points in this game, and they got exactly that. In the first half, Foldry with the game's first shot, but he hits it wide from the corner before Vera would heads it over from close in the 14th minute. The shots were 2-1 early for RSL, as Gonzalez would then hits it right to Stuver. RSL definitely started to take over this game, desperately trying to get themselves the opener. Stuver would then deny Cruz, but Catranes did get the rebound, but he puts one into the stands. But then in the 45th minute, RSL got their deserved lead, as Ojeda would score from Glad to give RSL a 1-0 lead, and it also kind of off of a fortunate deflection as well. So yeah, a little luck on RSL side, but again, it's been deserved because they've been piling on the pressure. Rubio did look to respond, but he was denied by Cabral. But we do head to halftime with RSL leading 1-0 over Austin. In the second half, Dubert Sertsky would put it wide from long range, but then in the 49th minute, Yetlin would score. So he did 2-0 RSL, scoring from Gonzalez and Luna. That's also the first for DeAndre Yetlin for RSL. So yeah, RSL in control here. Luna would look for number 3, but he hits this one wide. We then go for a period where not much really happened. Also kind of started to bring in the cavalry a little bit. They started to bring some of their starter, as Bukari, Uzuni, Pereira, and Wolf was summoned into this one. Kind of strange that they decided to bring in the cavalry when they're down 2-0 late in the game, but I guess maybe they're just trying to get the players some reps before the big U.S. Open Cup game. Glad would then hits it right to Stuver from the corner before Cruz puts it right to Stuver in the 80th minute. But then in the 82nd minute, Olachaji would make it 3-0 and put this one all in doubt, as he scored here from Luna to make it 3-0 in favor of RSL. Austin did get one back. Subovic did score from Pereira to give a consolation goal for Austin. And as good as Cabral has been this season, yeah, that was not a great moment for him. I think that was one that he probably should have done better in terms of making the save, and he'll definitely be disappointed, considered that's the clean sheet gone for him. But the good news is RSL does get the much needed win in this one. The shots in this one, 14 shots with the 9 that Austin had, 3 shots on goal with the 7 that RSL had, 2 shots off target with the 5 that RSL had, 2 shots on block with the 4 that Austin has, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Austin has in this game. Now, this win, unfortunately, doesn't actually give RSL their way back into the playoff of or above the red line. I believe Colorado and now the Quakes somehow found themselves back above the red line, but they still do control their own destiny. They do have a game in hand over those two teams, and there's a chance where they can definitely at least leapfrog the Quakes back above the red line. Though they also have to worry about Dallas as well, because Dallas is another team that is in the midst of this playoff race as well. Now, moving on, we got the Galaxy versus Sporting KC. So this was the other game that was kind of completely meaningless, and there's really nothing to fight for. But in the end, this game felt like the Galaxy of last season. This definitely felt like it with the way that the attack was definitely humming, and yeah, Joseph Painter definitely had a night after this game, because just 4 minutes into this game, he would score from Cuevas and Fernandez to give his team a 1-0 lead. Jovic did look to respond, but he hits it right to Mikovic. They did a good celebration and even give him a ring before the game as well. So good gesture to see the Galaxy, of course, gave to their former player, and they had to. I mean, he did score the winning goal to get this team to MLS Cup after all. So yeah, good gesture of him welcoming him back in this game. But in the 21st minute, Mikovic would deny Toy from the top of the box. It was a good response for Sporting KC. In fact, this game felt very Sporting KC, at least in the latter part. When we've seen with Sporting KC, with the way that, yes, they are losing game a lot, but it's not because of lack of trying. Their attack has been pretty good, but lately the finishing hasn't been there. And obviously, we know the defense absolutely is horrible for this team. But it's not because of lack of trying. They are still in these games. If they would have been a little bit more clinical in terms of finishing, they probably would have got into this game. And that this is another one of those games where the 4-1 scoreline was kind of misleading in terms of the fact that it wasn't as a big of a blowout as you would think the Galaxy did in this one. In the 22nd minute, Showery would miss wide from close range, but then in the 25th minute, Painto score again. So he scored here to make it 2-0 in favor of the Galaxy. Yeah, just non-existent defending there from Sporting KC. But then 3 minutes later, you knew this was going to happen. You knew Dejan Jovic is going to score against his former team. So he scored from Toy and Rodriguez to give Sporting KC a goal back. He also elected to not celebrate, which I definitely understand. I mean, he definitely still have LA in his heart deep down. So yeah, that made it 2-1. Could have been 2-2 if it wasn't for the post denying a free throw from close range. The momentum once again was Sporting. Now they were once again pressing hard to try to get the equalizer, but every time when Sporting KC tried to get the equalizer, the Galaxy responds back as Joseph Painto would score to complete the hat trick here from Cuevas and Peck to make it 3-0 for the Galaxy. Yeah, that Painto guy that has already scored 2 goals against him and has looked pretty lethal. You might want to think about marking him, Sporting KC. I mean, there was just no marking whatsoever there from Joseph Painto. That was probably the easiest goal that he would score, the easiest way for him to complete his hat trick. So yeah, that made it 3-0 in favor of the Galaxy. Could have been 4-0, and Painto actually almost scored 4 in the first half if it wasn't for the post getting in the way. And like I said, Painter was definitely feeling. This was more like the Joseph Painter that we saw last season, being an absolute menace against the defense. I mean, his speed is just an absolute killer against defense. And yeah, in this game, we kind of saw a couple of it, because yeah, he was definitely feeling it. The Sporting defense definitely was not feeling it. They were leaving leaving gaps all over the place for this Galaxy team to expose. And we do head to halftime with the Galaxy leading 3-1. In the second half, Mikovic would deny a free throw from close before he denied Showery on the curler. Again, Sporting KC getting some chances, but the problem is they weren't really being clinical, and the Galaxy kind of did start off slow in the second half. They definitely did not start it on time. Though that being said, Painto would miss an absolute sitter from close range. Of all 3 goals that he scored, that was probably the most likely ones. Well, maybe besides the third goal, that was probably the most likely ones that you would expect him to score. I mean, he had multiple chances to get his 4th goal in this game. Rindov would then puts it over from close in the 56th minute, as the Galaxy definitely woke up. They were pressing to try to get the 4th, and they get it in the 60th minute, as Fagundes would score from Peck and Painto to make it 4-1 in favor of the Galaxy. Painto tried to make it 5 and would looking for his 4th again, but this time he missed wide. Toy then dragged it wide from close in the 66th minute before Postgame did not Reigns from close in the 75th, and then he denied Mane. But it was with Psycho, and Ramos had a chance to get a first career MLS goal again, but he was absolutely raw by John Postgame again. The Galaxy, they were definitely not letting off. Again, this is more like the Galaxy of last season. This is a team that they don't care what the scoreline is. They're gonna keep attacking and keep playing this entertaining brand of style. That is kind of the reason why they won MLS Cup last year. Post game would then deny Peck from close in the 81st minute, but then in the 83rd minute we had a sending off as Sulamanov was giving his marching off order after a violent conduct, and I gotta say, I don't think this was a red card. I think this was a really harsh red card. I mean, yes, Sulamanov he didn't need to kind of shoulder barge in terms of the challenge on a Galaxy player, but if you get that as a red card, I mean that feels incredibly harsh. I've seen way harsher violent the kind of offense committed this season by a lot of players than what we see with Sulamanov. So yeah, there's no doubt that I think he's gonna definitely appeal for this and that yeah. I mean, it didn't really matter because the game was pretty much out of reach. The red card was kind of just a little footnote there, but yeah, in the end, the Galaxy does win 4-1 in this one. The shots in this one, it's a Galaxy game from last season when there's a lot of shots in a game. There was a lot. 19 shots for both of these teams. 9 shots on goal for the 6 that Sporting KC had. Both teams had 5 shots off target. 4 shots that was blocked for the 7 that Sporting KC had. And possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And even though I know it's a meaningless game for both of these teams, for the Galaxy, I reiterate what I said before. I think out of all the team that is eliminated from the playoffs or eventually is going to get eliminated from the regular season, the Galaxy is probably in the best shape to make it back to the playoffs. Once they do get Ricky Puig healthy, once they get the killer piece healthy, and once they do get more pieces in terms of the cap space started freeing up a little bit for them, this is a team that is going to be a threat again heading into next season. It's just unfortunate that this season, with all the injuries and the cap issue that they've been dealing with, and a little bad luck that goes on their side, yeah, that's kind of the reason where they are in the standings. So again, they have played much better ever since they finally got that 16 game winless run out of their system. They actually been pretty respectable in terms of where they are in for the rest of the season. Now, moving on in terms of the next match, it's the Timbers and FC Dallas. So for Dallas, they continue this unbeaten run. Again, this is probably one of the harder team that is under the radar right now, and they're determined to try to get it into the playoffs. And in a game where they play against the Timber side that they usually don't have a lot of good history against when they play at Providence Park, they were able to eat out a 2-2 draw. In the first half, Ayala would puts it over from long range before Jackson denied Mosquera from close. It's been mostly Timbers early in this game as the shots were 5-0 20 minutes in. The first shot for Dallas did see Kumungo miss wide from long range before Musa would put it just wide from long range. Dallas definitely woke up after a bit of a slow start in this one. They were looking to try to get the opener. Pentemis would then deny Kumungo in the 39th minute, though this was a crazy sequence. So this started with him denying Kumungo, but then there was a second chance, and Kaike had a second chance there. He was also denied by Pentemes, and then Dallas got a third chance. Musa was there in the front post to put it away, but he struck the post there. So yeah, talk about a crazy sequence for Dallas, and talk about some unfortunate play in a Dallas perspective. Probably should have been 1-0 up, and the Timbers probably very lucky that they're not 1-0 down because after dominating the first 20 minutes, they have not responded well after Dallas really grew into this game. Though, as I said that, Jackson did deny Anthony from long range before Capis puts it over from close range. Valde would then puts it right to Jackson in the 44th minute, but then the 45th minute, the Timbers gets the opening goal. Romero, of course, unfortunately scored the own goal. It was a corner coming into the box that, unfortunately, Romero got the last touch. I mean, you see that happen. Been at times where when the ball is put in a dangerous area, sometimes defenders don't clear it well enough, and next thing you know, it's in the back of the net, and the Timbers lead 1-0. In the second half, as they head into the halftime with that 1-0 lead, Musa would then head it wide from close range before Valde puts it over from long range in the 61st minute. I thought the Timbers kind of picked up where they left off. They were definitely the better side coming into the second half and pressing for the second goal. But instead, in the 70th minute, a penalty was given to Dallas as Sermon brought down Farrington in the box. Now, they did go to VAR to see whether or not if it was Doxo when Sermon brought down Farrington in the box. And I got to say, I feel like that probably should have been Doxo. I think or Sermon got really fortunate that he did not get sent off in this and only got a yellow card, even though they go to VAR to check for it. Because anytime when they go to VAR for that, I would have assumed the call most of the time would be overturned, but no, in this case, the call stands, so it's just a yellow card. Bad news for the Timbers is they still give up the penalty, and Pedro Musa steps up to take the penalty. You know he doesn't miss from the spot here, and he doesn't here either. So the game was all tied up at one apiece. Anthony did look to respond, but he hits it right to Jackson. But then in the 80th minute, Paredes does respond. So he scored from Valde to make it 2-1 in favor of the Timbers. A rare Paredes goal as well. He's not a guy that you would have fought out of this Portland Timbers side that can score the goals. Valde would then look for another, but he hits it right to Jackson. But then in the 85th minute, Julio ties the game up, and it comes off of a fortunate deflection as well, and that goes in. Again, talk about fortunate deflection. We talk about RSL getting the luck of the charm. Now Dallas, of course, is getting the luck of the charm. And again, when you're on a 6 game unbeaten run coming into this, you're gonna get that luck of the charm in terms of deflection that goes your way. I mean, Dallas is definitely feeling it and have really crawled their way back into to serious playoff contention. Ajela then looked to respond, but he puts it over on the header. The Timbers were definitely pressing hard to try to get the lead back. Dallas was just kind of happy to hold on for a point. Valde would then puts it high in the 8th minute of stoppage time. But yeah, in the end, the Timbers and Dallas, both of them ends in a 2-2 draw. Dallas does hold on to get the point. The shots in this one, 27 shots quit to 16 that Dallas had. So I talk about a lot of shots in this one. There was a lot of shots in this game as well. 9 shots on goal for the 4 that Dallas had. Both teams had 8 shots off target. 8 shots was blocked for the 3 that Dallas had. And possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Dallas has in this game. And despite the fact that Dallas did lose a bit of a ground on some of the teams that they're fighting for playoff position, I think this is a good point for them. Again, this is a team that doesn't usually do well when they play against the Timbers on the road. So to get a point like that, and the fact that they were under a lot of pressure for big part of the game, I think Peter Quill will be very happy with his team getting the point out of this one. You can't say the same thing about Phil Neville's side. I mean, the wins are really hard to come by right now for the Portland Timbers, and this is not a time to struggle. Even though I know the Timbers are probably going to make the playoffs again and are getting pretty close to clinch their playoff spot, you got to say that it feels like it's one and done for this team all over again heading into the playoffs. I mean, this team just does not look like a team that I think could go on deep run, not just because of the inconsistency, but they just kind of falter as we head into the playoffs, which is something that I'm pretty sure Timbers fans have seen that before in past, and it usually doesn't end up well once they get into the playoffs. But with that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the last 3 games to finish up the review of match week number 37. So moving on, we got San Diego and the San Jose Earthquakes, and I gotta say, for San Diego, there's got to be a lot of panic right now if you're a San Diego fan, and unfortunately, it feels like we're seeing St. Louis expansion season 2.0 once again. I said before, where when you look at the last couple of games that San Diego have played, where they haven't really been playing very well, the goals obviously has come hard to come by and they kind of falter after an incredible expansion season. Well, it's kind of almost similar to what we saw with St. Louis. St. Louis got off to a hot start and then kind of falter in the second half before exiting out in the first round. Now, we'll see whether or not that might be the case for San Diego heading into the playoffs as well. But the big concern with this team, it's pretty much been the same that I've said about this team. They cannot score goals right now. I mean, if it isn't Anders Shard, nobody can score on this team, and there's to this day they are still regretting in terms of letting go Milan Iloski and not signing him to a new contract. And then, of course, the other big problem for this team, yeah, CJ Dos Santos. I mean, it's kind of tragic of what we're seeing with him. He was just so good in the first half and even in the beginning of the second half of the season. But whatever their injuries that he of course suffered. Well, actually, we know what injury he suffered. He broke his nose there. He just have not looked the same ever since he's come back, and he is single-handedly costing this team points with some of the bad goalkeeping job that he's been doing in these last couple of games. Now, in the first half, Lozano was in on goal, but he missed wide there in the 3rd minute because that's kind of how it is for San Diego lately. There's just nobody besides Anders Jar can score this goal. Not even Chucky Lozano can score the goal here. I mean, this has been a very disappointing first season for Chucky Lozano, a guy that was supposed to be the difference maker. It was supposed to be San Diego Carlos Vela version, and instead he's have been very underwhelming. Now, part of that is because he's been battling injuries. He's been having tough time in terms of staying healthy, but at the same time, for a guy that was billed as the Carlos Vela kind of player that they got in one of their first signing in their expansion season, that's got to be very frustrating to see how underwhelming of a season he is and not really pulling his weight in the goal scoring and assist department as well. Now in the 8th minute, Arango with the Quakes' first shot, but he missed wide there. But then the 14th minute, Joseph Martinez scored. So he scored from Arango to give the Quakes a 1-0 lead. And as I said, for Dos Santos, this nightmare run of form just continue. I mean, that is one that he should have saved. Like that one wasn't really hit relatively well from Martinez. That is one that Dos Santos got to parry away. And like I said, he just become a huge liability right now for the San Diego team. So yeah, the Quakes were up 1-0. Martinez then looked for another, but this time Dos Santos does a better job to deny him. Pellegrino would then heads it right to Daniel from the corner before Dwyer would miss one from close. Valicari would then miss an absolute sitter from close range. Again, that moment just kind of sums up San Diego recent form. If his name is not Anders Dwyer, they cannot score a goal right now. And as I said, Anders Dwyer can only do so much with this team. I mean, as an MVP kind of form that Arnold Schar has been this season, he can't just single handedly carry this team. We don't usually see this happen where one guy can just single handedly carry this team to relevant. There has to be some weight that is put off him, and unfortunately, we're just not seeing it with the San Diego side. Arango would then puts it high from long range, but we do head to halftime with the Quakes somehow with a 1-0 lead. In the second half, Daniel then denied Dwyer from close range. San Diego kind of picked up where they left off, pressing for the equalizer. Pellegrino would also miss a sitter from close range. Yeah, to see that Pellegrino still does the same thing that frustrates a lot of Quakes fan over the past season and a half of the fact that he's just completely snake bit in front of goal. Like he not even a revenge game that he has a game that kind of proved that it was a mistake that the Quakes let him go. Can break the curse of the fact that he looks absolutely lost whenever he's trying to put the ball into the back of the net. Daniel then denied Lozano from close as the flag went up before Valcari would flash one wide from long range. Maiton would then hits it right to Daniel. It seems like it's one of those games again where Daniel, we've seen this before. We haven't seen it as much this season, but we've seen this in the past where Daniel can definitely steal points for the Quakes and probably give a win for the Quakes that they have no business in terms of winning. But in the 85th minute, Negri would hit it right to Daniel, and despite all the pressure that San Diego put, you just kind of had a sense that this is going to be another one of those games for them. The finishing is just not there for this team whatsoever. Negri would then hits it right to Daniel before McVeigh had a big opportunity from close to heads that one away from the corner. But as it is the luck for San Diego tonight, he missed that one. So yeah, that was actually the final chance of the game. The full time whistle actually was blown after that, and in the end, somehow in some way, I don't know how the Quakes do it. They look like they were Darren Barry, and now all of a sudden they're back above the red line. It's almost like they're doing this on purpose, just to kind of prove to me that I'm just a hater of this team and don't want to make the playoffs. Believe me, I want the Quakes to make the playoffs. But I just think that when you look at how they've been playing, they just don't look like a team that is in any shape in terms of making the playoffs. And let's also not forget that despite the fact that this team is above the red line, they still don't control their own destiny. Both RSL and Dallas does have a game in hand over him. So even with this big win like this, I mean they still need help from other team. And as I said, the schedule doesn't get any easier. They get to play Vancouver on the road in the next game, and they finish with Austin at home. I mean, this is definitely a great win against San Diego. Somehow pulled it off thanks to San Diego being inadequate on the the finishing department. But I don't think you can get away by playing that if you're playing against Vancouver or even Austin at home. Free shots on goal for the two that the Quakes had. Free shots off target for the eight that the San Diego had. 7 shots on blocked for the two that the Quakes had. And possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession the Quakes has in this game. There is definitely panic time right now for San Diego because right now they're just not getting the goals from them. And add to the fact that you have a goalkeeper that has just been a huge liability for this team, it's no wonder why this team has started heading to the wrong direction. And it's kind of sad to see because, again, it just feels like St. Louis 2.0. Again, a promising expansion season on the verge of breaking the record. It's hard to believe they still haven't break the record yet. They're still tied with LAFC on 57 points in terms of break the record. I would assume they would have broke that record a couple of games ago, but no, they're still sitting on 57 points. I do think eventually they'll break it, but even with the record, I mean, I think they'll be happy with how this season is, but they'll definitely will feel like this could have been even more, especially like I said, they are really regretting the Milan Iloski. So that is probably gonna be the move that it's not often one move in terms of you making the transfer window can cost a team, but I feel like that's an example of it because if Milan Iloski was still on this team, I can guarantee you San Diego is not struggling the way that they have been lately in terms of scoring goals lately. With that being said, moving on into the next game, and the last game that happened on Saturday is Seattle and the Vancouver Whitecaps. So yeah, you can kind of had a sense that this game, even though this was built as a heavyweight matchup, you kind of had a sense at the end these two teams look completely out of gas. I mean, they look absolutely batter at the end of the full time whistle, and it's not. It's also important to note that all the goals in this game came in a span of 18 minutes. I mean, there was at 3 minute spell where three of those four goals was scored in this game. Now, in the first half, the Sounders, I thought they were on the front foot early. Nuhu would then puts it wide from long range. The shots were 3-0 early for the Sounders. Sabi with the Whitecaps first chance, but he missed wide from long range before Rothrock would head it right to Takoka in the 29th minute. Ocampo would then miss wide from long range, but we do head to halftime scoreless both of these teams. It wouldn't stay scoreless for long, and this is when the scoring party began in this game. As in the 51st minute, Brian White would score from Mula to make it 1-0 in favor of the Whitecaps. Seattle feel like there should have been a foul on the development play, but they didn't call it, so it's 1-0 in favor of the Whitecaps. Good news for Seattle, they quickly respond as Jackson Reagan would score from Rusnak to tie the game up at one apiece. And before we even get a chance to talk about how Seattle maybe have the momentum, they took the lead just 1 minute later as Albert Rusnak himself would get on the score sheet, just completely turned the game on its head. If you went to the bathroom and came back and saw the scoreline went from 1-0 and 2-1 and think, how the hell did that happen? Yeah, Seattle happened. They definitely respond in quick fashion. So yeah, the Sounders now has the lead. We then go for a period where not much happened, but then in the 69th minute, nice. Laborda would score from Berhalter to tie the game up at two apiece, and you're just thinking, well, this is looking very exciting. This feels like it's gonna set up a really crazy last 20 minutes, right? But like I said, it just feels like that was kind of the last hurrah for both of these teams because the gas meter was definitely started hitting empty both of these teams. So there were still some chances. Rodon did look to respond, but he was denied by Taco on the header. For Kubas, who puts it high from long range, and really down the stretch, not much chances that happen. Again, both of these teams, they just look tired and batter as we head near the end of this game. Takoka would then deny Rusnak on the free kick. But yeah, in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw in this one. The shots in this one, 11 shots for the 10 that Seattle had, 6 shots on goal for the 5 that the Whitecaps had, 3 shots off target with a 1 that Seattle has, 2 shots that was blocked with a 3 that Seattle has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that the Sounders has in this game. And I don't think either of these sides really want the points to be shared, even though I think the resort is definitely fair compared to how this game of course play out. I mean, for the Whitecaps, they lose more ground in terms of the supporter shield race to a point where it feels like now it's becoming a bit of a pipe dream. But for the Seattle Sounders, again, the struggle continue in the post Leagues Cup. They're definitely feeling the effect of this long season and the post League Cup, and not to mention injuries are once again piling up for this team. Both Alex Rodon and Yamar had to be subbed off with an injury. So yeah, it feels like Seattle is having the same issue as Columbus had right now this season, where they are just getting absolutely decimated by injury. That it feels like maybe that might be a price to pay in terms of the Leeds Cup. And we talk about the Galaxy paying the MLS Cup tax. It feels like now the Seattle is feeling the effect of paying the Leeds Cup tax because while they definitely for one day unite the MLS fan base, and the MLS fan base were very proud of them in terms of them beating the almighty and the evil empire known as Inter Miami. At what cost? Because right now it feels like that they're just completely out of gas and they're just kind of limping into the playoff, looking nothing like the team that we thought they were before winning the Leeds Cup, being one of the more dangerous team in the Western Conference. With that being said, moving on into the last game on this board and the Sunday night soccer game that we saw between Cincinnati and Orlando City. And I gotta say, I am shocked the fact that there was not more goals in this one. I mean, this was a game where I was kind of even shocked the fact that it took us until the 74th minute to finally see the first goal of this game, there was a lot of chances for both of these teams, but unfortunately, both of these teams were definitely being wasteful for most part, and in the end, it ended in a one draw in this game. In the first half, Galese would deny Denke as that was the game's first shot. Cincinnati with all the possession, trying to get the opener, while Orlando was kind of happy to sit back and counter. First shot for Orlando did see McGuire puts it wide on the doorstep of goal. Yeah, that is one that Duncan McGuire would want to have back. That is one that you usually see him hit him finish. Ojeda then was in on goal, but it was poked away by Robinson. And these missed chances that we see with Orlando, that would be kind of a foreshadowing of what we see throughout majority of this game. I mean, at point in this game, it just feels like they just cannot buy a goal whatsoever. But Cincinnati, I also thought that they were having a lot of problem in terms of dealing with Orlando's transition. They got better, at least as the game goes along, though. Freeman would then had a shot that was deflected and goes wide before Danke hits it right to Galese. Ojeda then had a shot that was deflected and goes high. Both of these teams, again, getting some good chances, but the question is, who can get that opener and show the clinical finishing? The answer is no one, because we go through a period where not much really happened. It feels like the defense started to tighten up for both teams as the half goes along. So we head to halftime with the game scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Loro denied Freeman in the near post before he denied Ojeda, but that did fall kindly to Janssen, who tried to score on the rebound there, but couldn't do so because he put that one high up the pitch. Yeah, that is one that just kind of sums up Orlando up to this point. They should be at least 2-0 up Orlando up to this point. And you just kind of had a sense these wasteful chances, it's going to come back to haunt them in a big way because Cincinnati themselves have been getting some chances and themselves has also been pretty wasteful. Brentner would then hits it right to Galese before Denke was in on goal there, but he didn't put that one on target. He then hits it right to Galese in the 58th minute. Cincinnati definitely woke up in the second half, started pile on the pressure to try to get the opener. Evander would then hits it right to Galese before Galese denied Orejano of a knuckler from long range. Galese then denied Powell from long range. Yeah, El Pupo was definitely at it again. It feels like he is trying his best to hold the fort for Orlando, trying to ride out this pressure. Unfortunately, it didn't work because in the 74th minute, the breakthrough finally happened, and you had a sense that this was going to happen. I would have been absolute even more shocked if this game ended in a scoreless draw, but Kevin Danke finally breaks the duck for Cincinnati from Evander to make it 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati. It's been coming with all the pressure that Cincinnati has been putting ever since the 52nd minute mark. Freeman would then look to answer, but he was denied by Laurel before Brenner missed it wide on the volley, despite the fact he had a big chance to put that one away. And that is one that, again, will that come back to haunt Cincinnati? I talk about Orlando being wasteful in front of goal. Cincinnati themselves has been wasteful in front of goal as well, and now getting that second goal with the way that you kind of had a sense Orlando was going to get more chances late in this one. Is that going to come back to haunt them? Ojeda would then miss an absolute sitter in the front post, though. Again, it also kind of helped the fact that Orlando just couldn't finish if their life depends on it. And this is kind of where I said, yeah, just not Orlando night. Like they just cannot put the ball into the back net. No sort of finishing whatsoever. Moria will also miss a sitter from close range before Marine would put it wide from close in the fourth minute stoppage time. Though I will say that even with these bad finishing that Orlando was putting, Cincinnati was playing with a lot of fire. Like you just cannot keep giving these golden chances away to Orlando, even though I know Orlando though has been very wasteful because as the old saying goes, you play with fire, it's gonna burn you. And it burned Cincinnati because in the fifth minute stoppage time, finally Orlando show a clinical finishing and finally bury one away as Alex Freeman would score from Spicer to tie the game up at one apiece. Not only that's been coming, but Cincinnati they have no one to blame for themselves. They paid the price of giving Orlando multiple chances late in this one while not closing out the game. I mean, if you want a textbook example of how not to close out a game, Cincinnati basically just showed that late in this one. Evander would then trying to retake the lead from the free kick, but he puts it over. But yeah, in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this game. The shots in this one, there was a lot of shots. It was a very entertaining game. 23 shots committed, 19 that Cincinnati has. 9 shots on goal for the 6 that Orlando has. 8 shots off target for the 4 that Cincinnati has. 4 shots that was blocked for the 5 that Cincinnati has. And possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Orlando has in this game. And I don't think either of these teams is going to be happy with this draw. I mean, for Orlando, yes, I know they finally found that equalizer late, and that has to be a huge relief for Orlando City fans because this would have been one of the more painful losses that they suffer in recent memory. But you look at all the chances that they missed in this one. They could have easily walked away with a pretty big victory. And the same goes for Cincinnati as well. Again, they had their moments as well, and also not putting the game away. And as I mentioned, a textbook example of how not to close out game. And I know Cincinnati for a long time. I always make that narrative of the fact that it's a Pat Nolan special if they win by 1 goal, because that's kind of how they like to do. Well, yeah, I understand that you like to win by 1 goal, but eventually, if you keep winning 1 goal, you're gonna have games like these where you're going to blow a lead late, and especially Cincinnati has had some reputation of doing so, especially in big games, like this. Yeah, again, this has got to be concerned if you're Cincinnati. This team, despite where they are in the standing right now, I just think that this team is still underperforming, and this team just need to find themselves another gear. Like with all the talent that they have on the attack and even on the defensive end as well, this team should not be sweating out every single game. And I get that maybe that's something that maybe Pat Nolan likes to do. It's kind of the 1 goal special that Pat Nolan has been an expert for the last couple of years, but it's getting to the point where you can't just keep doing this and think that it will work all the time. And while it has kind of worked for most of the time, like I said, you're gonna have one of these games like this, and you better hope that it doesn't happen in the playoffs as well. Because we talk about pressure in terms of the playoffs. I think Cincinnati, there's a lot of pressure heading into the playoffs. I mean, I know Miami is a team that is an MLS Cup or bust. I could argue you could maybe say the same thing about Cincinnati as well. Especially they have had an incredible last couple of seasons in the regular season, but they just cannot get over the hum, and they do not want to fall in the same fate that we saw with the Philadelphia Union, not able to get over hump despite having a lot of good season. And it's kind of ironic the fact that the team that basically is the front office and also the head coach come from the Philadelphia Union. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. We do have one midweek games that is going to happen, a makeup game between Inter Miami versus Chicago, where we could definitely see some history, at least on this channel, where we could finally see the Chicago Fire for the first time clinch a playoff position ever since I started covering MLS in 2018. As I mentioned, they're the last team that I can remember that has not been able to be clinched a playoff position or even in the playoffs of all the time that I've been covering MLS, and that streak can finally come to an end. But we'll see whether or not they can do so, especially against a Miami team that definitely want to bounce back after a disappointing 1-1 draw they have against Toronto. But after that, we're into October, which means that we're into the penultimate weekend of the MLS season, and next weekend will definitely be a weekend where we can definitely get a lot of clear picture of what is up for grabs in the supporter or yeah in the supporter shield race, the playoff race, and also the seeding. And I'll definitely do a video heading into decision day in terms of talk about some of the big headlines heading into decision day 2025. But there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.